Hi, Mom to Summit. This is Natasha Nicholes, and I am your first Instagram Live host on this channel with experts and gurus. And I am bringing you today how to grow things, right? We're going to learn how to grow stuff today. For those of you who do not know me or who have never heard of me, I am the face behind the We Sow, We Grow project. I am a master urban farmer living in the city of Chicago, and I am just an all-around lover of agriculture and living the little house on the prairie life in the big city. Okay, so today I'm going to make sure to save you from appearance because, as we all can agree, I have extra hair on my face because I have not had a chance to go and visit my friends in the salon. So we're going to focus on dirt and seeds and growing the best things from this time in quarantine. Okay? So typically, this is not the way that my setup looks, but I wanted to make it friendly for those of you who are growing at home where you can use the things that you have on hand. I'm pretty sure there are several of you who went through a mason jar phase when it was popular for influencers to use mason jars for everything. This size that we're using is 1.5 pints. I prefer using the wide mouth mason jars because they're easier to remove seedlings from after they've sprouted. But you can use the regular mouth jars and just plant one item in there if you want to. We also have popular planters from Ikea. If you all had high aspirations of actually starting plants in your home and went on an Ikea binge, I don't know anybody who's ever done that before. You can also use these, and you don't need to drill any holes in them. Oh, look at that. It's called the soccer planter. And you can use those. You don't need to drill holes in any of these because all you're doing is planting and allowing the roots to take place, and you're not going to overwater. That's the secret, okay? Now, I'm a little bit more in tune with the dirt. I made my own potting soil. You don't have to do that. You can go and order potting soil or garden soil off of your friendly Amazon influencers store, or you can order from garden centers. Menards, Home Depot, Lowe's, or any of your local garden centers if they do ship from their centers. But I made my own, and I'm using my own. You don't have to do that. This is not one of those things. Okay, so you want to fill up your mason jars to the brim. Yes, all the way. This is a fun activity for children to do. They get to play in dirt while you get to watch them play in dirt and mess up your kitchens, if that's where you're planting. If not, you can try it in your bathrooms, in the bathtubs. I've seen some people do that. I don't like dirt in my bathtub, so I won't. Or you can scoop out of a tub like we do. You fill it up and you pick whatever seed you want to plant in your mason jars. I will tell you, these types of containers work well for your herbs, not necessarily for larger scale vegetables like tomatoes or cucumbers or peas or beans or anything. They just don't have enough room to establish a root system, so you want to keep it small, and then that way you can keep it in your windowsill. You don't have to go outside and bend over and crack your back or have aching knees if you don't want to. Okay? So, we're going to show you that we're going to plant these 3. These have already been planted. There is actually spinach in this one. I planted spinach. The reason I planted spinach in this is because spinach is a plant where you can harvest and it will continue to grow. So you don't have to worry about it getting too large for the pot, and you can take off a couple of leaves as you wish. We also know that you need about a ton of spinach to feed one person because it wilts into nothingness once you cook it. But if you're using it in a fresh salad, you can let it get pretty large and then harvest all the leaves, and then they'll all grow back. This one actually does have sweet basil in it. And then this one I planted not a cherry tomato, but I did plant dill. dill seed, because we use them when we make fresh pickles, refrigerator pickles. It's not nearly as hard as some people would have you believe. Vinegar, garlic, dill, salt. Drop the cucumber in there and let it go for a day in the refrigerator. Okay? So, what we'll do is get our soil all set, and we're going to pour water in here. You do not want it to a consistency of muddiness. You just want the water, and you'll see that it's sitting on top. And you just want it to dampen the soil all the way down so that when the roots set up, they have a place to suck the moisture from. Kind of like how this quarantine is sucking the joy out of so many people's lives. The roots are going to do that with the water. And you'll see that the water is actually going down. Okay? It should be the consistency of sand at the beach, where we can't visit any longer, guys. But we're making mud pies at home. So we're having fun. Okay? So you're setting that up. And let's plant some cilantro. And if you're in any type of area right now, I'm planting organic cilantro. I actually have no preference. These were the seeds that were available. I would plant regular cilantro if we had it. They didn't, so I picked this up. This is actually good for a container, so you know that it will do well. This loves full sun, so if you have a south-facing window in your home, that will get the most sun throughout the entire day, okay? That's where you should put any type of windowsill plant that needs full sun, in a south-facing window. You should be okay on a balcony. Also, you should be okay in your backyard if you want to put it out there. But you just want it to get a lot of sun. Now, if you live in a very, very hot climate, I'm looking at you, Texas and Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, any place where it was already like 70 degrees in January, you're going to want to keep an eye on your cilantro, because cilantro will bolt and it will give you coriander. And bolting is the act of a plant going to flower, okay? And when it goes to flower, the next aspect is going to seed. So you know how when your parents were bumbling over the birds and the bees talk with you, and they were talking about losing your flower? That is literally what we're talking about when we talk about bolting. They lose their flower, and then seeds are there, and then the seeds spread everywhere. Fun times, right? And yes, I'm here all day. I can literally turn any farming talk into a birds and the bees talk. Okay, we're going to plant cilantro. And with this, you can plant a couple of seeds, and you'll see what I mean by cilantro going to coriander. These are actually coriander seeds. This is what you use when you're making all of those delicious spices. Okay, when you grind them up, it's coriander seed, but they're actually cilantro. And you can put them on top. And with these, because they are so small, what's going to happen, we're going to cover it with cling wrap, or you can use a sandwich bag or a Ziploc bag. Anything that will keep it and turn it into a greenhouse of sorts. You want to make sure that you do that and put it in a space where it's going to get lots of sunlight. If you don't have a lot of sunlight right now, you can put it on a vent system and make sure that the temperature stays above 70 degrees or so. You don't want it too hot because you'll cook the seeds, but you don't want it too cold because they'll go into hibernation and they'll shrink up just like a turtle head and won't sprout. Okay? Clear as mud? Yes? Yay! Okay. Now, that's it. That's all. And you can do this. Cook, pray, slay. What have you been doing? Tell me what you've been doing. And we'll get you all fixed up. By the way, guys, I run a private Facebook group for folks who love to garden or want to learn how to garden. And it is the We Sow, S-O-W, We Grow Gardening Chat. You can find us on Facebook, and we have a lot of fun in there. I hold weekly gardening clinics where we answer questions if you're having trouble. Right now, we're doing a Gardening 101 series where we take you from being able to read your seed packet all the way to harvest. So we're going to walk you and hold your hand while doing it all the way from planting your seeds to harvesting at the end of the season. No. You can still bury the seeds. Most of these seeds need to be planted about 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch. Some even as big as 1/2 an inch below the soil. The reason we're doing it this way is because we're using this as a greenhouse. If you were directly sowing outside, you do want to go ahead and bury your seed the 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch around. And since we are living in Little House on the Prairie days, you want to take your saran wrap and put it into a bigger Ziploc bag, because that's how we store things around here, and save it for the next gardening season. Okay? Reuse it. It's able to be reused, and you'll be fine. If you do not have mason jars, if you are the type of person to keep red Solo cups around, you can do it the same way. You can use Solo cups and put the soil and the seeds right there in the Solo cups. The majority of the people who are farming or gardening year round or every year, we have things like grow lights and everything, but grow lights didn't exist back with the first plague. So, we're using what we have, and that's the sunshine and the fresh air and the water. Okay? Now, you can spritz these every couple of days if you see that your soil is getting dry. And you'll know that it's getting dry if it goes from a really dark, rich black soil to almost brown. And when you spritz it, we have the spray bottle, and you can just spritz. Or you can pour. Just don't pour anything that you drink to make you feel better, unless that is water. If it's water and that's what makes you feel better, c'est la vie. Go ahead. Go for it. Okay? So, this is something that my children looked at and wondered why I was setting up this way, because we typically have a massive amount of soil going, and we've been soil blocking. This is something that they consider a fun school project, because my kids are mini-me's and sarcastic is all good out. So in a couple of days, these seeds will turn into something that looks like this. Okay? And those are seedlings, and they've germinated. You'll notice that it looks like they have what appear to be 2 sets of leaves. These very large leaves that you see are not true leaves at all. That is the split of the seed, and that's what's going to provide food for the next couple of days for the plant. Most of them are now just getting their second set of leaves, which are their true leaves, and that's when they get mature, and you'll notice whether or not they're doing well. Now, with this type of container, we're going to have to carefully separate these seedlings and then replant them. Probably not these, because these are zinnias. My youngest daughter planted zinnias as a self, guided project, because she's me. And these will probably stay in here and flower. We won't have to separate them too much. But when it comes to larger plants that you do plant in a small container, you will have to do what we call thinning them. Okay? Things that should be thinned, not basil. Basil doesn't need to be thinned. Cilantro doesn't need to be thinned. None of your herbs really need to be thinned, so you'd be okay planting them and leaving them there. You don't want to plant them all in a cluster, though, because they'll choke each other out. Kind of like the pandemic right now, and family members. So think of them in the way that you think of your family, and spread them out and show the love. And make sure that they're all in spaces where they can establish a good root system and get proper sunlight and water. Okay? Now, most of these will germinate under the right conditions in a couple of days. So you should see seedlings between 3 and 7 days. And the greenery should make you happy, right? Right? We're right on that, right? And then you can use it, since it looks like we're going to be inside until June. With the basil, you can make pesto. You can also make caprese salads if you want to. You can partner it with your pasta sauces, because you all will start growing tomatoes. These are gateway plants. You will soon go to having tomatoes in your backyard and using those to make fresh sauces, for your pasta, which you also are going to start making from scratch, because we are all turning into Laura Ingalls Wilder, and it makes my heart so happy. So before this live, we were sent some questions, and I want to answer a couple of those to the best of my ability. Now, while I am a master urban farmer and a master gardener, there are certain things that I don't do because my area isn't conducive to them. But we're gonna do what we can do, and I'm also going to point you to We Sow We Grow page so we can get you into the group where we have other experts there. Someone asked about planting fruit trees, if I have any suggestions. All I know is if you're planting apple trees, you need more than one because they have to mate with each other. They're not asexual plants. So you need to make sure that you have more than one. I'm pretty sure more fruit trees are that way. And it's not just a ploy by the garden center people to get you to buy more than one tree plant. Okay? We can do more research because I was not given specifics about which fruit tree, but it is what it is. And that's what you have to do typically. Funnily, is funnily a word? No. Funny enough, tomatillos are the same way. You have to have two plants in order for tomatillos to actually grow in your garden. It can't just be a one plant thing, and you can't depend on bees to do that. So if you want to do tomatillos, make sure you get two plants or plant more seeds so that you have more than one. Okay, someone else asked about their leaves turning yellow on their plants inside their homes. More likely than not, you are watering too much. And yes, you can give too much water to a plant, and the leaves will turn yellow because you are washing all of the nitrogen out of your soil. Now, if you're up for a challenge, you can choose to amend your soil by adding fertilizer to it. But as with anything, you do not want to add fertilizer directly to the plant. You want to make sure that you're doing it in the soil. So talk to your soil nicely, and then remove the plant from that area and put it in quarantine for a while. And then amend the soil, mix it all together, and then repot your plant. Or stop watering so much. Okay? Stop hitting the plants with the water. They don't need to get drunk at all. The most productive veggie plants out there. Zucchini. Everybody, if you have ever grown zucchini, you know that once you start with the zucchini, they never ever stop growing until winter hits, and then everybody runs away from you because you have way too many zucchini to give to people. That's a great growing one, and once they mature and they get hit with fertilization, it's on. Kale is also a very productive plant. So are radishes. Radishes tend to be harvestable at 3 weeks. So you can plant some radishes and have them before the end of April if you want. Another great one are collard greens. And what else did we grow a lot of? Cucumbers. Cucumbers are also great. You can't find collard green seeds. So you can check out several seed companies. One is Botanical Interests on the bottom. RareSeeds.com, which is Baker Creek Seed Company. They have collards, and Johnny's Seeds have collards as well. Oh yeah. The pollen in Georgia, I heard, is out of control. So you all are just miserable. Not only do you have to stay inside with a bunch of people that you're not used to seeing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you have pollen to boot. And where to start? You start with picking seeds of plants that you enjoy eating. Okay? If you do not like tomatoes, don't grow tomatoes. It's as simple as that. If you are a large pickle consumer, buy pickles, and you will be amazed at how many different varieties there are of pickles. You have Boston pickles, you have Chicago pickles, you have pickle bush pickles, you have a ridiculous amount of pickles. And if you think that I'm lying, this is the way that I store seeds. You have the pickle bush pickle. And then you have one that's just homemade pickles. And then the muncher, which is also a pickling cucumber. And then you have Boston pickling. And then you have Chicago pickling. And there are a whole bunch more. You do not have to plant all of these. We just like having a variety to see which ones we like growing and which ones produce well. And then we go from there. So this is our pickle season to see what pickling cucumber we're going to grow from here on out. But you want to make sure that you pay attention to your zone. And the zones are shifting because of climate change. And I'm totally not going to go down that road. But we are getting longer growing seasons than we used to have. Chicago used to be roughly May until the end of August, middle of September. Now we're May until almost November for our growing season. You do need something for the cucumbers to grow to climb on when you're growing them. Now, if it's a bush variety cucumber, you do not. But anything that's vining, if it says that it's vining, you do need a trellis, yes, or something else. You can create a tripod, which is 3 gardening sticks or 3 dowels, wooden dowels that are pretty thick, and you can create a teepee of sorts and have them grow around there. But you just need to plant your cucumber seeds at the base of each of those and then train them to wrap around as they're growing. The next question was seasonal veggies to grow. That depends on what area you're in. Obviously, folks in California and Florida can grow oranges. We cannot here in Chicago. I'm also very upset at people who can grow avocado and mangoes. I try not to let too much of that jealousy shine through, but I am. And then our gardeners in all of those southern states need to actually start their cold weather plants in January and plant them outside, whereas my cold weather plants cannot go outside until April because Chicago is a different type of cold than Southern California, Florida, Texas. Okay, so you all may have a cold where 40 degrees hits different for you, but your lettuces and your thick green leafy vegetables like broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, your kale, kohlrabi is a good one. Those will be able to grow for you and you'll have a longer growing season. You can plant those in January and February, where we have to wait until March to plant, and then we have to harvest by June. You would probably need to harvest by April because your plants will be fried to death if you leave them in too long. Okay? So that's what you do. You make sure that you are reading the back of your seed packet, and it will let you know temperatures, how deeply you need to, the depth that you need to plant your seeds, and the spacing. I march to the beat of my own drum, and in my hugless life, I also tend to ignore some of the spacing issues with seeds. So, play around with it. It's fun. Gardening is fun, but it will also call it the most fun game of poker that you'll ever play, because you are not sure if what you plant is going to germinate. And then sometimes you think you're not going to do well and you end up with way too much food to share. And in times like these, it's important to have that, because then you can help feed your community. Okay? If that's all, I hope you enjoyed this presentation and that you have gotten some ideas about what to plant in your home. We dive a little bit deeper with larger plants in our group. That is, once again, We Sow, We Grow Gardening Chat. And that's a group on Facebook. And we accept all gardeners, no matter what level you're on. And if you're just a plant person and you keep plants in the home, we also talk about those. We would love it if you could give us a follow on We Sow We Grow for Instagram and We Sow We Grow on Facebook. And then maybe, just maybe, you'll be living dirty by nature like we do. Until next time, guys, I will see you later. Bye-bye.